Jenna George of Jenna G Fitness. Wanted to talk to you for a long time. You have a great background in fitness. You've been doing this for like 30 years. You are a indoor cycling instructor, personal trainer, and you also work with bodybuilders too, which is phenomenal. My very first question for you is, you've been doing this for decades like I have. What first sparked your interest in the fitness industry as a career?
So as it started as group fitness instructor, and it started because the small little quaint gym that I was at had a great little team of group exercise instructors, but a big box gym was opening up in town and a lot of instructors wanted to flee. And basically, in a nutshell, one of the other instructors who was staying said, "Hey, Jenna would be a great instructor. She's always up front. She loves classes. She takes all of them. She's always on beat, blah, blah, blah. We should get her." So another instructor who's had been doing it for, again, decades, grabbed me. They set it up. She taught me basically the downbeat, all that stuff. I went and I did group exercise certification and I started teaching step. And then a couple years into that, I got dared to do my first bodybuilding show by a trainer at the gym. And he said, "I'll help you, blah, blah, blah." Did the show. And then literally the dare was reciprocating was to be, he would take my class for 1 month if I actually got on stage and did the show. I got on stage, did the show. He did not ever do my class ever one time. So continued to teach, but when I started bodybuilding, I had time on my hands. I was in my 20s, mid to late 20s. I couldn't go out, I couldn't party with my friends. They're all doing that, and I'm just staying at home. So I'm like, what do I do? So I picked up a personal training textbook, and it was actually somebody gave it to me, theirs, and it was the ACE textbook, like a million years ago, thick, big, heavy book, and I started reading. And then I went in 2001, and I did the AAAI in-person seminars on the Cape and loved them because obviously I learned hands-on with people in front of me and lectures and talks and all that stuff, all different topics. So much better learning situation for me. And then sure enough, I did my test of probably a few months later. I went back and did my test at another refresh seminar, all the in-person stuff that we used to do, tons of them. But I did that and it was fantastic. And so that's how it all started. It all started with AAAI, all of it. And a dare.
And all the former personal trainers of the gym jumped ship to go to someplace else, and it opened up a door for you.
So two of the OG trainers stayed, the one that dared me, and then another one that I also trained with for my bodybuilding shows. But all the instructors, all the group exercise instructors left, and I got lucky. I got so lucky. I walked right into like 5:30, 6 o'clock slots, like prime time slots. No instructor ever gets when they first start, ever, which was a lot of pressure, but it was good for me, and I jumped right in and started teaching, and then it evolved right into personal training. I didn't start personal training right away after I got certified. I kind of played with some friends with a little bit. Then I went, I went to the big box gym because the gym I was at went 24/7, no classes. So I went to the big box gym, was teaching classes there for a few years. And then when I went to another gym, I just walked in and said to the owner, "I want a personal train." And he's like, "Great, let's go." And that's where I started it.
And the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. Weaned out of full-time jobs, had to wean out of the full-time jobs because you can't jump into this industry and just think, "I'm going to have 30 clients day one." Especially now.
Is there a part of the industry that challenged you in a way that you were not expecting when you wanted to get into the fitness industry?
Yeah, how to get clients. How do you put yourself out there? How do they find you? How do you find them? And again, we're going back to the late 90s where we didn't have social media. We didn't have the technology. I mean, we were emailing from a desktop or a laptop, and you didn't know until you checked your email again. But for me, it started in full amenity gym, which I'm still a part of that family. And it started with basically covering desk shift, working in the nursery, taking a shift here and there in different spots so people get to know me, cleaning the equipment, putting weight away in the weight room so that members got to know me and just, basically chatted up with them. And that's really, it just, you had to put yourself out there literally, physically. in person. You had to put yourself out there back then. Now, obviously, people can put themselves out there on social media and all that.
That's a really good point, because I think when people become a personal trainer and they're doing what you just said, I'm cleaning equipment, I'm putting the weights back, sometimes people are like, I don't want to do that. There's a method to that madness, and you just nailed it. You're getting out there with the members. They're getting to know you, like you, trust you, hire you.
Yep. And I will give credit to the owner of the gym that I worked for, who, like I said, I still am a part of that gym. And he coached me through that. His mother also owned a gym here in New Hampshire, in Salem, New Hampshire. And John taught me that. It's like he gave me the tools, and he gave other trainers the tools, but it was like, are they going to take them and use them right? And when I have somebody who's been in the industry longer than me and doing something, and I need to learn from them, I'm going to observe them. Like, I'm going to watch them. I'm going to listen to them and whatever. And that's, I think, one thing that is a little bit of a lost art is watching those who have been doing it for so many years, mentoring and shadowing and things like that. I feel like that's a lost art, because maybe social media, maybe technology, I don't know, but I feel like it's a lost art. I don't see it much anymore.
And let's double click on that for a second, because a lot of personal trainers, when they get in the industry, that's something that a lot of them, they struggle with. How do we get clients? And what I think is interesting about you is you're working full time. Your schedule is busy. Correct me if I'm wrong, you don't even have a website, do you? You have a link tree, and I see you on Instagram and I see you on Facebook, etc., but you don't have a website. How are you getting your clients, for the people who are curious?
I had a website before the social medias. I had one, and it was financially upkeep. Like, you had to pay to keep it up. You had to pay to update it. And again, this is back before I could just go into some of these web developing pages that I can make my own right now, right? But what happened was Facebook came out. And when Facebook came out, I just embraced it. And I started off with my personal page, but then they gave us the ability to make a business page, a followers page. So when I started that, and I laugh and say, I give a testament to my young clients, young friends in the gym, always, on a lot of things, still to this day. But that back then, there was a kid who took my spin class, and he said, Jenna, you got to get on Facebook. And then I had a lot of young followers, which were good. And I was looking back at my website, and I'm like, spending money, and I'm, bye-bye. So I kept the domain. I own the domain still, but I got rid of the website. And then Instagram came out, and they're like, oh, coach, you got to get an Instagram page. You got to get an Instagram page. Like, you can, do so much more, blah, blah. And you can link the two, because it's meta, well, whatever it was then. But it's, so I was like, okay, I'll do this. Like, I'm listening to my young people. That's fine. I'll let them coach me a little bit, because I can always go back to the webpage if it doesn't work, right? No big deal. It doesn't cost anything. So social media really has been where I've been able to throw my brand out and build on. It's something that we also push a lot, like even in the gym, like having a group, like I have a group page, for my team, some group pages for clients. It's one of those things where you can create these things for free and just go from there. So yeah, I do a lot of things old school. I do a lot of my workouts are still, I can really even show they're handwritten when I'm in person with clients. My clients that get online programs, they're typed up. They're still that way. I don't want a website telling me what exercises to put in. I have old school.
No, I'm the same way. I'm not bringing an iPad into a weight room or anything like that. It's too expensive, but I'll bring a clipboard.
Yep, I have a clipboard. Yep. It's funny because on the back of my clipboard, I always put all local businesses on the back of it. It's like if there's a coffee shop or a surf shop or whatever, I'm like slapping their stickers on the back of mine.
That's a smart idea. I like that.
Makes it fun.
So you're not even taking out Facebook ads or Instagram ads, are you?
I've never done one. I almost did last fall, and then I didn't.
I've got. How about that?
And again, I think I'm lucky in the sense that I do teach group exercise. I do personal train. I do have collaborations with, companies. The other thing too is even on my link tree, like when it comes to those little collaborations and stuff, when you have like with the indoor cycling shoes, I have a code on there. So if people buy a pair of shoes, they can get a discount from that code that I get. Well, then I get credits on that side. So then what it does is when I tell people, just go to my, my Instagram page, go to my Facebook page, you'll see the link tree, go in there, and that brings them to all those pages. So it brings them to my Facebook page, my Instagram page, my, LinkedIn, whatever it is. But, I think it's that community that I try to create. And again, like I said, I teach at one place in Portsmouth. I teach at another place in Portsmouth. I train in Northampton, New Hampshire. So it's like, it's putting yourself out there, really.
So for you, it's word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is phenomenal because we're living in this digital age and you're using the digital stuff, the Instagram, the Facebook, et cetera, to your advantage. But a lot of this is face to face, business to business. You're essentially, shaking hands and kissing babies. Yeah. And that's, I think, something that a lot of fitness professionals, especially new ones in the field, should hear because they think, hey, I got to do everything on my phone and people will just come to me, and not necessarily. You got to put yourself out there, and you're living proof of that. So I wanted to again double click on that so people could hear that, not just from me, but from somebody else as well.
Because it's a relationship. It's a relationship.
It's a relationship industry, yeah, and that's really what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's not all the exercise science stuff that you learn in the big thick books, and you know. No one's ever going to ask you about, how does ATP form and break down, and what about the Krebs cycle? That's never going to come up in conversations.
It does not come up in the weight room.
No, I've never heard anybody in the weight room talking about glycolysis.
Nope.
No. So let me ask you this. Person says to you later today, hey, Jenna, I want to be a personal trainer. What advice would you give them that they're probably not thinking about?
Probably two-part to this. And the first one is definitely do your research on what it is you actually want to maybe specialize in or be in. Like, what do you really want to do? And then find the right certification for you and get one that's good. Get one that has reputable instructors. Get one that's just not doing a bunch of online work. Get education. A lot of kids obviously come out, they have kinesiology, things like that. Okay, good, you've got the education, now let's go get your certification. But most of them already set them up for something. My big thing is just to know that what you're going to do, it's like any business, you have to build your business philosophy. Build your brand. Find out what your brand is going to be. Who's going to be your target market if you have a specific target market. I like to joke and say, people say to me all the time, like, well, what's your average client? And I'm like, can't tell you. I got a 15-year-old swimmer. I've got, people in their 70s that are just trying to stay fit and keep moving. And everything in between. Everything in between. So, but I think, again, that's also because it all started back before social media. And I think finding what your brand is and what your market is, what your strength is, is what you can coach, what you can teach is what's important. You can't just jump in, have an idea of what your flow is going to be.
Yeah. You mentioned brand several times, and it's something else I think people should hear about. You are the CEO of your own company. You are your brand. So people should think about that. Yep. What am I doing? Who am I serving and how am I going to serve them best?
Yes. And your representation, it's of it. It's so everything you do, it comes back to it, whether it's doing stuff on the community, things like that. It's everywhere. It's wearing it. It's, having your clients wear it. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And you've got your brand on you right now, which is really good.
So I have a joke too, and my clients and people, someone might say oh, you should wear your hoodie, wear your brand. And I'm like, sometimes I like to go unbranded. Sometimes I want to buzz in and out of the grocery store.
Sometimes Batgirl wants to take off the costume and be Barbara Gordon. I get it.
Exactly.
I get it.
You just want to get in the grocery store, just go.
I get it. When the personal trainers, I see them online a lot. Hey, I'm certified by blah, ask me anything. And then they're trying to prove themselves, I think, by saying, ask me anything. And again, none of us know everything. I know I certainly don't. What do you think a lot of personal trainers get wrong when they're, again, trying to prove themselves, not only to themselves, but also to other trainers and maybe even their clients? Is there anything you think they could do better?
I think they're making it too much about themselves. For example, I get told every now and then, Jenna, you have to post something about you. Post something about you. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's always your clients. You're always doing your clients in your stories. You're always doing your clients in your posts. I'm like, well, it is about my clients. They're the celebration. We're not celebrating me. We're celebrating what I'm getting them to do. So every now and then I have to throw out like, oh, all right, well, here, let me do some bad camera angling and, prop my phone up on my water bottle and let me just slap a video out there. Whereas the other half I see is, okay, they've got their tripod and they've got it in the gym. Then they edit the lighting and they do all this but it's their workout. It's not their client's workout. And it's at their client celebration, whether it's not winning a road race, but completing a road race, a bike race, weight loss, weight gain celebration. I feel like a lot of them now, it's their workout. It's their, like you said, trying to prove themselves. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You got to look the part, you got to do the work, but it doesn't need to be all about you. It really should be about the clients and their celebration. That's one thing that I've noticed probably in the last couple of years on social media that I'm just like, meh.
Do you see more trainers in the gym filming themselves and their clients?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
What do you think of that? Because I see these videos on TikTok and Instagram of people video themselves, and I don't know. I have some thoughts. What do you think about all that?
It's one thing, like if they want to celebrate themselves, and not everybody's comfortable saying, hey, can you do me a favor in video? Whereas in past, that's what I would do. I'd just be like, hey, can you just hold my camera and video this? They'd be like, okay, fine. And some people aren't. So I get the whole thing. But as far as when you're posting every single rep, every single set, I'm like, okay, why? And how much memory do you have on your phone? Like I said, it's like maybe people want to see who you're working with. Because I know I will have people come to me like, oh, you seem to work with a lot of women my age. Or, oh, I saw you working with that teenager. My daughter needs a trainer. And that I'd rather see them that, because that's what's going to come to me. Me doing a pull-up, I don't feel like is an advertisement for a client to come to me. I'm not going to hire a hairdresser. Like, yeah, I want her to have nice hair, but I'm going to be like, okay, so you work with these people? Okay, good. Yeah, well I'm going to come to you. Or anything like that. It's like, you're not going to go to a hand doctor for a foot problem. It's, you want to go to whose work entices you. Like what attracts you? What's your target market that you want to hire for a trainer? So I try to put that out there, like, okay, I have a diversity. I do traditional weights. Sometimes I do the sled and the ropes and things like that. I want them to see all that stuff. I have the capability of doing that with my clients. And I also want people to see that when my clients are working, they're working safely and with good form and smart and progression. And that's another thing. Like okay, so you do these pull-ups, you do these squats. Okay, that's great. But what if your client can't do a pull-up or doesn't want to do a pull-up? So I think that's the hard part, like with all the filming of themselves. I'm like, and one thing to film yourself, that's fine. That's totally fine. But if that's all that you're putting out on your website or your social media.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, the videos of personal trainers working themselves out, it's a dime a dozen. And I usually say to them, you got to solve people's problems.
Yes.
And watching you do a bench press isn't solving anybody's problem. It's just, feeding your vanity. So you're better off, doing like little segments on, this is how you do a proper whatever exercise, or here's an exercise myth or something. Solve their problems. Give them a reason.
Why do we do a squat? Why do we do a lunge? What's functional about it? What is a lunge? Oh, we step forward, knee down, grab a pen because we dropped it, and come up properly. It's like that stuff. It's like, like give them the basics, and not just like, oh, I can grab 35-pound dumbbells and do lunges. Like,
yeah. Was there a time when you realized after you got certified, you're like, hey, this business is more than about all that exercise science stuff that I had to learn for some test?
It was probably right away with my first 2 clients ever. Very different. One in his 20s, wanted to get stronger, build muscle, had a desk job, but just wanted to get in the gym and just, feel stronger, build muscle, and learn about weightlifting. And the other one was a woman who at that time, she was probably in her mid to late 40s and wanted to lose some weight and only did yoga and walking. Like that was all she did. And she wanted to broaden on that and do some resistance training, lose some weight, whatnot. And I think the biggest celebration, like of when I realized, and this was part-time. I had a full-time desk job at this time. So this was still part-time. I was going in at like, 5 in the morning or 5 at night, 5:30 at night. And it hit me because both of them, within probably like 8 to 12 weeks of working with them, had felt that original, like that first vibe of like, oh my gosh, I've made changes. And then it hit me. But also in that 8 weeks, 12 weeks, I learned about the male client, the stresses at work, the stresses of life, trying to balance a social life with a busy work life, blah, blah, blah. And then the other woman, mid-40s, going through perimenopause. And so we're talking two completely different worlds. And there was such an emotional connection to both of them with them. And that was the wake up call. Like I was like, okay, this isn't just about how to lift weights and how to build mass, burn fat. It was about that emotional connection and listening to them and I became a part of their life. I mean, birthday parties are happening. Oh, I'm going there. And so those two first clients that I had, and I remember them like, and this was almost probably 26 years ago. And I remember it like it was yesterday.
I was going to ask you, what do you think that personal trainers underestimate about the industry before they get into it? You just talked about the emotional connection that you'll have with your.
We're the cheapest therapist on the face of this earth.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a good point. Yeah, people tell you stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, they do.
And you can't tell anybody about that either.
I joke and say this is the best thing for the female clients and class participants, for group exercise instructors as well. The best thing is, I joke and say, I have so many times in my career been the first one to know about a pregnancy before the rest of the family knows. I can name a dozen of them where I know and the husband knows, and that's it. But I have to know. They have to tell me. Especially if they're wearing a wearable, like a heart rate monitor or something, and all of a sudden I'm like, what is going on there? And they're like, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. Let's move on.
Yeah. And again, people will tell you things, and again, you can't share that information with other people. We're not under the HIPAA law or anything like that, but yeah, we can't divulge that information. It doesn't send a good message to clients, because I think they'll say, if you're talking about this person, you're going to talk about me eventually too.
Exactly. And it's like I joke and say it's my code of ethic.
Yeah, it's a good thing. You also mentioned you had a client who wanted to put on mass and lose body fat, which takes me right into your other population that you do a lot of work with, and that's bodybuilders. I don't meet too many personal trainers who specialize in bodybuilders, but I see you on Instagram a lot, and you're showing them how to pose. Bodybuilding's a totally different sport than any other sport out there. How do you work with them to make them get on stage and look their best?
So basically, it's obviously write plans for their workouts and their macros, which is their food plan. And it's a progression thing. Some things progress, their workouts might progress, their food changes as long as deep into the prep as they go. Like we start taking certain things away. I'm the kind of person who likes to deal with a lot of flexible dieting and have a lot of options at first. And then I start to taper it back. But yeah, it is basically from their plans to their food to their workouts, their cardio schedules, and then also going into their presentation. So it could be everything from their posing, and we have multiple different divisions nowadays, so that it can go into their promotion or into their presentation on stage, and into also all the little things that end up happening. Like the girls have a lot of things that they have to deal with, like hair, makeup, stuff like that, helping them schedule that, setting them up, getting them to their suit maker for the competition suits. And so, yeah, it's a lot. It's I joke and say it's a smaller part of my business, but it looks bigger on my social media, because I feel like that tends to get a lot of the social media. And I'm like, wait a second here. I gotta get my regular clients back on my page again. But it's a very elite, different sport. And what's so different about the sport, it's because it's the behind the scenes work that's so important. The judges could care less if you squat or what you squatted. They could care less if you bench press or what you bench pressed. They don't care how much cardio they did. It's all aesthetic. And it's not who finishes the race first, like a running race or a cycling race. It is literally a very subjective sport of who looks the best to the judges that day. And what's really scary about the sport is you don't know who's showing up that day. So you take baseball, football, soccer, anything like that. There's videos out there. They can watch games. I'm sometimes stalking the internet to see who's competing against my people. There's no doubt about that. But then again, they could show up underhydrated, overhydrated. They could show up just, you don't know how people are going to look the day they walk on stage, because anything can happen with their prep. It's, it's a timing game. It's brutal, but yeah, it's interesting.
Do you find the bodybuilding world harder to work with or easier to work with than the general population?
Harder, because there's so many modalities to their prep. So many.
Do you find they're more compliant with your workout programs and your macro programs, or less than the general population?
They're definitely more. And it's mostly because I have that big reminder of, you're the one stepping on stage in a tiny bikini that fits in a baggie, in a Ziploc baggie. I'm like, so you're the one who's got to follow the plan. So that's always my bottom line. I'm like, you're the one wearing the little itty bitty suit that fits in the sandwich baggie. And for the most part, they don't want to fail, and they don't want to look bad when they step on stage, because I do remind them a tan can only hide so much, little things like that. But yeah, they're probably more compliant because they are eating, breathing, sleeping, the lifestyle.
Yeah, most definitely. Getting back to the general population for a moment, what do you think your average client needs from a personal trainer that doesn't have anything to do with weights and reps and sets and all that jazz?
Depending on what their goal is, I think it's the accountability to not just be there at the gym, be there for the workout, but to do what the homework is. Whether they have a certain cardio they have to do for homework, or if they have like mobility, stretching, things like that to do for homework. I find myself very lucky to have the diversity that I have, being a group exercise instructor first, and then also a personal trainer, because I support the group exercise industry wide. And when I have an in-house in the gym client, or even an online, I have a couple of, online clients that are just lifestyle, and they might have a Peloton at home, or they go to a gym that has class. I'm like, okay, so tell me your classes. Give me your schedule. Oh, okay. Monday you do spin. Wednesday you do yoga. Friday you do Pilates. Okay, I'm going to work these in your schedule, and then your workouts are going to go around those. And they love it because they don't lose what they already love. I go, why am I going to take away what you love and what is so good for you? Why am I going to do that? It's the same thing with the bodybuilders too. Like when they've had stuff that they love to do, I'm like, okay, fine. And they're like, really? Because there are some coaches and trainers out there that don't believe in group exercise. They believe in work in the weight room and go on the step mill. And I'm like, they're taking our community away. That's your community falls in the weight room. It falls in the whole gym. It also falls into other studios, other, modalities of fitness. So again, probably more generational. And then also my experience with both personal training and group exercise. And I worked for a club once that the head trainer, this was many years ago, did not want trainers to teach group exercise classes. We still talk about it. There are some of us that still talk about it. Weirdest thing.
That's a win-win. Why would he not want that?
So it was a female.
Interesting.
It was a female.
Why wouldn't she want that? That is a genius combination.
So when I went to the next gym, one of those trainers was now a trainer and a group exercise instructor at that gym. And then later she became my boss. But what's really funny is that was one of the first things I said to her. I go, because I didn't recognize her right away. And she goes, do you remember? I was like, oh my gosh, I do now. Like it's all clicking. And she goes, yeah, I couldn't take it anymore. She goes, I want to teach classes too. She goes, I love teaching classes. And that's how you get clients.
Yeah.
And so it's like that. And that was why I went there. It was so funny. And that director did not last long. I think she lasted maybe a year or two. But it was just the weirdest phase. And that's the only time in my entire career I've ever seen that.
Yeah, that's a first. I've never heard of that. You teach group classes and you're a personal trainer. That's a killer combination for getting clients.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's the first thing I did when I went to Portsmouth Athletic Club to, I wanted to do personal training. I told the owner I wanted to do personal training. And I said, but I also, obviously, I teach spin, I teach step. And I was like, I can teach boot camp classes, whatever you want. I said, I go, but just get me in the sub list, like get me in, because that's the only way I'm going to build people. And then that's when I also learned, like, oh, Sunday afternoon needs a desk person. I'll cover it. Sunday afternoon at a gym is, I joke, it's social hour. Nobody's coming in for tours. There's no classes. There's no chaos. It is the best time to just BS with all of the members coming in and get to know, and let them get to know you.
I'm amazed at how many gyms don't know what you just said. And it's exactly right. Nobody's really coming in, and doing tours on a Sunday or anything like that. It's a time for you to get in front of people.
Yep. And I would throw my plans out on the desk, and I would, write the workouts out for the week. And when the owner came in, he looked at me and he's like, and I was talking to one of the guys, and I had all my like client files on the desk, and I'm still watching people as they scan in, checking them in, greeting them. And he walks up the stairs and he sees what's going on. And he goes, afterwards, after the member walked away, he comes over to me and he goes, I love the triple dip. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you're triple dipping. I go, what are you saying? He goes, you're working the desk. You're running my front desk for the gym. You're planning your clients' workouts, and you're talking to members, creating relationships, and letting them get to know you about personal training, and just getting that word of mouth out there. And I'm like, I'm triple dipping.
That's pretty funny.
Right?
Yeah, it's amazing how many people don't do that. And when I walk into gyms, I see them literally buried in their phone. They're not looking up. Nobody's talking to anybody anymore. Any of the gyms you work at, by the way, do they have a cell phone regulation for the front desk or anything like that?
The gym that I just referred to, Portsmouth Athletic Club, they do. They have a policy. Like, you are right there at the desk. Like, you can have your phone, you can have a book, whatever, but they have always, for however many years, had a policy of, like, when that member walks up, they're right in front of you. Yes, they're scanning their phone or scanning their key card, but you greet them and whatnot. If I was a gym owner, I always joked and said, you can have your phone, you can have your iPad, you can have your laptop, you can have a book, but the one thing you cannot have, earbuds. I find that is an instant social block. I mean, I do it if I go into a store, but I'm going into a store listening to a podcast. But when you are working a job that requires customer interaction, no. Because we had one at one of the gyms that I worked at, and I said to the general manager, I go, that's got to go. And he looked at me and he's like, what? And I go, that is like saying, no, I don't want to talk to you. And he's like, no, I never thought of it, Jenna. He goes, you're right. Let's get it. Let's make that a policy.
Yeah. And that front desk staff, I think, is so under, I don't know what's the word I'm looking at. I don't think in some gyms they pay enough attention to the front desk staff. They are the first line. They're the first person you're going to see. And they're also the first line of defense. I've been saying for years, gyms are a soft target. And that front desk staff is crucial, not only for seeing, hey, who's going to walk in the door, but also it's the end of the night, it's dark out, you're going to your car. If I'm working at front desk, I'm watching you to make sure you're safe.
Yep.
I don't know how many people do that.
No, we have a bar next to one of the gyms, the original one I was training at, and there were times at night that somebody might have had a few too many beers and they come lingering into the gym. No, nobody was ever left alone. Like, we as trainers, like when I started there, I had a shift 5 to 9, and that was 5 to close. And I was there with the closing person, and we closed and we walked out together. Yep, always. That was always it. That was, and that's how it should be. Back to the cell phone thing. It's on our rules, our regulations, whatever you call it. It says, do not video anyone else without their consent. So, yeah, absolutely.
So, personal trainers obviously have to communicate with their clients. I like to watch how other personal trainers, talk to their clients. Is there anything that you would come up with and say, personal trainers, you're saying this to your clients or you're saying this to people and you're losing clients because of it?
Sometimes too much information about yourself.
Okay, yeah.
They may not want to hear that you were wasted the night before last. That's a lot of what I'll hear sometimes from the young ones. Sometimes there is a level of oversharing. And I'm cringing and I'm like, she just say that, did she?
Yeah, you really have to watch what you say sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story for me personally. This was many, many years ago. I went to this person's house and it was an interview. I was going to be their personal trainer. They had an entire gym in their house. And I remember I'm going through it and I'm showing her things about the equipment that she's never known before, but I happened to let it slip that I like Diet Coke. And she was like, I cannot believe that you like that. It's poison. Don't you know it's poison? Listen, and I didn't say it like that, but I said, I don't drink coffee and I am getting up at 4:30 in the morning for clients and I got to have something to get me started in the morning. And so, yeah, I do stop off and I get a Diet Coke. I lost that client because I had said I like Diet Coke and I thought to myself, wow.
But
But
I don't
yeah,
think that's something you ever should have not like divulged. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's like
I thought it was innocuous, but yeah, she wrote me off immediately.
I don't think that was meant to be.
And I look at it that way. I dodged a bullet.
Yes, 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 yes.
So speaking of clients, one of the things that sometimes trainers, I think often they struggle with is client is late, client's not showing up, client argues with me over my program. How do you deal with that? How would you deal with it?
Well, the lateness is easy. They have to sign in our contract, but in our agreement that I have a 24-hour cancellation policy. Yes, certain things do happen, and it might slide. But, when I call them the habitual offenders, and when it happens and it happens and it happens, I'm like, you're going to get charged. Like, this is all the time. Like, maybe you shouldn't commit to, Tuesday, Thursdays at 11 o'clock every day, like, or every week. Like, maybe you shouldn't be commit. Maybe you should come in as a floater client. Because I have them. I have committed clients and I have floater clients. And I'm like, maybe you should just come down to being a floater. And we just work you in when we can work you in. Because it's costing you more money. And so the 24-hour cancellation policy nips that right in the bud. That helped me. And that got enforced, again, by the owner of the gym that really mentored me, and the director that we had then really, really, said, you need to keep this. Like this. As far as the questioning and challenging, yep, I've definitely had that. And sometimes I just have to stop and sit them down and say, listen, what do you want from me? Like, maybe I'm not giving you what you want. Maybe we need a plot twist. Do we need to change things up here? And is it that you're not happy with what you do? Do you not feel confident? Whatever. And sometimes I just have to like switch the plate and be like, what do you want? Ball's in your court. Then sometimes that wakes them up to realize, okay, all right, okay. Some people really can be over inquisitive. And I know you know this because of what you do and what you've done, all the seminars that you've taught, all the, certifications with sports nutrition and stuff. You get that one person and they're constantly projecting a question, a story, a something. And everyone laughs at me because granted I love to talk, but everyone laughs at me because when I'm in a certification or a seminar, especially CPR is my favorite example to give for this one, and first aid. Can we all just shut up and get through this? I want to be the pep talk person at the beginning that just says, can we all just shut up and get through it? Like, we all have stories. We've all done something, first aid, CPR, whatever. We've all got something. But you know what? We just need to get through this and recert right now. We're just reserting. So I think they're those people. I think the people that challenge you and question you all the time. I think they're just those people. And you just need to kind of flip the court around and say, okay, ball's in your court. Why are you asking me all these questions? And it's communication, I'm not challenging them back. I'm just communication being like, why are you asking me all these questions? Like, I get some, but don't challenge me and don't say, especially when I hear but I don't want to do these. And I'm like, well, I'm sure you don't because you're horrible at them and you need to get better at them. That's usually my answer, but reality.
For your floater clients, do you charge them a different rate than your regular show up on time clients? No.
No, because to me it's all equal. It's all equal. They're getting the same trainer. They're getting the same experience. And some have to float because of their work schedules. So I don't want to charge them more because they're okay with being a floater. And I have some clients I love as my floaters because to a whole new topic, your personality of your clients, like balance in a day is important. You know, you don't want to put all your high maintenance people back to back. You'll never survive. You'll never survive. You gotta
There you go.
split that up. There's another piece of advice, scheduling. Split up. Put, it's like if you got someone that takes a lot of your emotional energy, make sure that the next client is one of those, like, you can just sit back and just enjoy them. And they will get that. That person will know that client will know. They'll be like, oh, I'm not they'll catch on. If they work with you long enough, they catch on to how your schedule ebbs and flows, because it's, it is. It's the challenging ones they're hard, like emotionally. Your social battery, your emotional draining, just it affects everything.
Have you ever had to fire a client?
I had a client that would come in and she was lovely, and worst part was she was actually like a referral to somebody who worked at the gym, but she came in and she dictated what she wanted to do, which the splits and the workouts and the exercises was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. What she also dictated to me was, when I took her like 5 minutes before the hour was up and we were going over towards the mat, what are we doing here? Well, we're going to stretch you out. And she looked at me, she goes, I'll do that on my own. You and I both know. No, you won't. And I said, no, it's part of my programming. It's part of my education, my training. I need to stretch you out for at least 4 to 5 minutes. And she's like, no, let's just go do another exercise. So I bit my tongue, went back to the weight room, I joked and said I tricked her, because I did just a couple of like core workouts that were pulling the body down to mobility more than it was like knee sways and things like it was, mobility stuff versus, cable crunches or decline crunches or something like that. So I just turned it into that, and she went on her way. I went to my director, I went to my boss, and I said, okay, what do I do? She goes, okay, go talk to the owner. So we went to the owner and we talked to him. And he said, okay, give it another session, see what she does. But just say that you do have support and you have checked in with us, that, no, this is part of my philosophy. I need to know that you're leaving stretched out, cooled down, so that you don't get injured. And it's not on my dime or the gym's dime. She refused again. And I said, would you like to talk to the director? And she's like, I want to talk to the owner. And I went, okay, it's upstairs in his office, go ahead. And she did. And he looked at her and he said, you know what, this is not a good fit for you. And she was very demanding. Like, I'm almost being nice describing her. She was very demanding, very like, no, she was not taking no. She was not listening to us. She wasn't listening to me. She wasn't listening to him. And he said, you know what, we're just going to make this right. You will still pay Jenna for the 2 sessions that you have trained her for. We will refund you the other 8. And I'm also going to retro refund you your membership so you can go find a gym, because none of my other trainers are going to do this for you. So she wasn't even just fired as a client. She was fired as a member. And that was like,
wow.
Again, that was the beginning of my career. I had a really, really good, I had a good step into this world for personal training. I was very lucky. Very lucky. I've had to fire bodybuilding clients, but that's par for the course. That's actually more common than not common. Yeah, if they're not following the brand, like my plan, or they start talking to other coaches, I'm like, you're out. Bye. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, wow. So that's interesting, the way that woman was reacting. It sounds like the owner really stepped up and protected you and the other trainers, which leads me to my next question. What do you think the general public doesn't know about the personal trainer world that maybe they should, that maybe they're not thinking about?
That's a good one.
Like you mentioned, we're the cheapest therapists out there. That's got to put, eventually, depending on what they tell you, that's got to, yeah.
So most of the people at the gym who take my classes, studios, they all think I am an extrovert. They think I am full. When you leave here, you must go, blah, blah, blah. You must do this. I go home and I recharge my battery. I've learned I go home. I love being home alone. I love grocery shopping alone. I love going for road trips alone. I love my alone time. I love it, and I need it. I need to come home. And there are times that I work out here. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to work out here. I'm fine. And it's also a good time for me to play with exercises and with things and research things and try them out on my own. It turns out being a little bit of research and stuff, but it's yeah, it's my recharge time. They don't realize that we need to decompress. And when I say, like, when my phone's in D&D, it's in D&D. When I say don't text me before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m., I mean it. Like, let me recharge before the next day. So I didn't have those boundaries. I had a client teach me that boundary about, like, saying you don't take texts after 8 p.m. and before 8 a.m. unless it's your first client, like the 8 a.m. thing. Like, unless it's like, your 7 a.m. client has to cancel or whatever. Like, then they can text you, but just generally. So I'm like, okay, that became a rule in my agreement that I have.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I've gotten texts at 3 o'clock in the morning from clients.
Yep. No, not necessarily. Send me an email. Send me an email. That does not show up on my phone. I tell them they can email me 24/7. 24/7.
Hmm.
And I'm fine with
You're not gonna read them 24/7, but
that. No, right? Right? Because I'm like, I say, I don't have to open my business email. I can turn the notifications off of my business email after 8 a.m. and before 8. No, after 8 p.m. and before 8 a.m. But, I just don't. I just don't even look at the email doesn't even matter to me. It's the notifications on texting and social media and stuff like that. I'm like, no, keep it to email.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
that can
turn,
be hard with the young generation. It can be hard with the younger ones.
yeah, they live on their phones. Yeah, I turn off all notification. Only notification I'll get is text, and when I go to bed, my phone goes off. I mean,
Yep.
I silence everything
Yep.
except for maybe a couple, family members. If it's emergency, they'll come through, but everybody else, I won't get it until the next morning.
That's how I am. That's how I am. The favorites. I go, are you in the favorites? No, you're not.
Exactly. Um, is for that personal trainer who maybe just starting out, what's the awkward part of the business that maybe they are not anticipating?
Making yourself available and putting yourself out there. But with just what we talked about, setting boundaries. So, yes, you're eager to get clients, you're eager to fill up your schedule, but don't find yourself in a situation, and I have a colleague who just kind of went through this a little bit, where you're taking 5 a.m. clients at this club, but you got to get over to a 9 a.m. client at this club, and then you're coming back. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's like since the pandemic and I have more Zoom clients, I have 2 days a week that are strictly all Zoom in the morning. And then I'm at the gym the other 3 days a week, like longer, full day. And I might go to the gym later on those other 2 days of the week, but I have a block of time that is just Zoom. And even if it's open, say I have 11 o'clock on Thursday open, and someone's like, well, can I do 11 o'clock on Thursday? I'm like, no, that's my Zoom time. Because I might have a Zoom client that says, can we meet? I don't like doing Zooms at the gym because it's chaotic and I share an office with other trainers. So it's just too much, So I want that because I want my clients to have that privacy.
Yeah, it's a good point. I remember seeing one personal trainer doing a Zoom client literally in the gym. He put the iPad on like a doorknob, and he was balancing it on a doorknob. And I'm working out, originally I thought, what is he doing? He's training somebody on Zoom while he's working out, which I thought was very weird.
Well, there's actually another thing you got to realize. You are not working out with your clients. You are training them. You are observing them. You're watching them. You're listening to them. You need all of your senses alert. And
Yeah.
and I think that's one thing, because I'll see, so, and one thing if you have an agreement, because I've done it with some clients, they're like, maybe if a client's coming, bodybuilders coming from, to visit. And I'm like, well, what, let's work out together. Let's do your back day together. Let me make sure you're doing your back workout and let's schedule that in. So I might do something like that. But on a regular basis, you are not working out while your clients are. That's group exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you approach the awkwardness question a little differently than I would, because when I first thought about this, the thing that I thought about, clients will get gassy. I've had that, and I've heard stories of personal trainers, not a lot of them, thank goodness, but a few of them they'll put a client on a leg press and they'll load it up with maybe a little bit too much weight, and the person has a bit of an accident on the leg press.
No, I've never had that happen.
Yeah, me neither, but I've heard about it, and it doesn't get much more awkward than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't teach you that in the textbooks.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No. Yeah, no, I actually don't think I've ever had that.
Yeah, I've heard stories, and a couple people have told me things in private, and I'm like, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, fortunately, it's never happened to me. But yeah, clients get gassy.
Yeah. That happens. I'm just like, man, that's a human thing. Like whatever.
It is. Everybody farts. When trainers want to get clients, again, that's the most consistent question I get asked about, how do I get clients? How do I keep clients for the long haul? What would your advice be for that?
If you want to train clients in the gym, be in the gym that you want to train the clients. Do your workouts in the gym. Don't wear your headphones. Talk to the people. Let them get to know you. If you're closed off, headsets on, not paying attention, you're not creating relationships. Because it's not necessarily the guy next to you on the bench press that's going to hire you. But guess what? How many times in my career, how many clients I've gotten because the guy on the bench press next to me, or the bench, or the machine, whatever, looks at me and goes, my wife has been talking about coming in so many times. Or my brother, my uncle. It's not just women, obviously. But it's always they're okay because they're here, they're doing their thing, but they always know someone. So no matter who you're around, have your guard up, be open to talk to them, and be present. Don't be, where is that? I can't reach it. Don't be here.
Yeah.
Be present. Yeah. Be present. Be around. Be available. Make yourself available to talk to people. It's, sure, like we said earlier, social media is a great way to market. Social media is free. It's a great way to do that stuff. But they also need to know and see you. Let them see you practice, like your workout. When I find myself, like even in a situation now, I might be in the office and I'm on a break and I'm like, okay, yeah, get up. Stop scrolling your phone, get up, throw my heart rate monitor on, I jump on a treadmill and I just walk. And our whole weight room and cardio is wide open. It's all one big space. So I'm sitting there and I'm available. And, I'm just chatting with people. I might even just be chatting with another trainer that's with a client right there in front of me. It doesn't matter. Just chatting with people and getting that socialization. Letting people see me like, oh, Jenna's free at this time? Because that's also another trigger, is when I'm free, don't hide. Be seen.
Yeah.
It shows noontime on Wednesdays is open. Oh, wait, maybe I'll grab that. So even if it's for a couple, when somebody does one session to check their form on certain exercises, great.
It's a great thing. And social media is interesting because one of the trends that I see a lot of trainers these days asking questions about is, I want to go virtual. I want to be a virtual personal trainer. They don't even want to leave their house. So, and again, I see the pull of that. I don't have to drive, and I get that. Much like when I teach virtual classes for AAAI, I get that. I roll out of bed and brush my teeth, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Versus I got to drive 2 hours to some location. There's pros and cons to both of that. Like you, I also like my private time. I'm listening to podcasts in the car, and I like going out. But I also appreciate that at the end of the day, I go home and I'm already home. I can eat dinner and whatever I got to do.
Then you can also reach to more people because, I can hop on it and in we're how many hours apart, I can hop on these, and that's what I've loved. Although I do miss our big conference on the Cape. I do. You have no idea how much I am manifesting AAAI coming back up here. I'm like, come on.
Talk to Dylan. It may happen. I know Atlantic City is happening. I know Colorado is happening, but you never know about the Cape. It's possible. He only knows, and he hasn't told me. For that trainer who wants to go virtual, though,
yeah.
What's your advice for that person? What should they be thinking of anything that maybe they're not thinking about if they want to become a virtual personal trainer? Pros and cons.
So pros, I love the fact that on those 2 mornings a week, those blocks, because I'm on my computer on Tuesday afternoons doing my online programming updates. And so again, schedule yourself, make sure that you have enough time to plan those workouts. You still have to schedule, even though you're at home, you still need to block out. But I think the biggest thing is you get to multitask things. I can throw a load of laundry in. I can do my dishes. I can eat my lunch off a plate and a fork instead of a Tupperware container in the gym. So I get that. Like it is, I've been making a joke. The cons are, if you want to go 100%, that's hard because now you're actually not out there. You're not in a weight room. You're not connecting. We all know we've got the verbal language, but we also have body language. So understanding the body language in person and also on virtual, I have found is important. And I can't get up and grab a set of 10s and demo something for one of my virtual. And again, it's that sit and watch. I have to, okay, are you breathing properly? Okay, I can hear that. I'm watching you. Are you squatting properly? Okay, I can see that. So, and I just talked about this with one of my colleagues who has Zoom clients, she said, she asked me, she said, do you find it hard for them to put themselves in the right position so that they can see? I said, well, I'm going to tell you one thing right now, put them on a split screen. Make sure they have you on a split screen. So you're equal sized. And when you get up and demo it, and then they go to do it, they're going to see it like by like. And she was just like, that makes sense. And I said, but if they're just in the little tiny square and you're the big on Zoom, they just see you. They can't, or tell them to prop a mirror up. So that's the other thing too, is communicating to your clients so that you can see them properly, you can coach them properly on form and technique. So that can be a hiccup, is their environment.
Great point. I also think if they want to do Zoom and they want to do it on the cheap, they may be gravitating towards that free plan on Zoom, which I believe they still have, but I think it's only a 40-minute time limit.
Yep, I'm unlimited. I've been unlimited since 2020.
Yes. Yeah, so you got to watch out, because if you're going to do an hour class, it's going to kick you out in 40 minutes. So you have to be cognizant of it.
Make sure you have a good tripod and, either it's an iPad or a tablet set up so that you can pivot and rotate quickly, and you're not making them dizzy by, moving around an iPad, because that is, on our perspective as a trainer, I just accept it because it's what my clients have, but I should have the professional setup on this end. And I did not spend $100 on my tripod. My tripod legit came from Walmart. And it's been the same one for 6 years. And it was a good friend that referred me to it. And it travels with me sometimes. Like I said, I think I spent $40 on it. My ring light was maybe $20. Just be prepared.
Yeah. You got to have something, but you don't have to have the super duper expensive stuff. I interviewed Christina Dorner a few months ago, and she's got over 600,000 followers on YouTube. And for most of the time, she was using some pretty cheap microphones. And again, they weren't perfect, weren't as good as what she's got now, but it was enough to get going.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't spend more than you have to, but spend something.
When I actually remember when the pandemic kicked in, and, I had my iPhone, but my laptop was like old. It was getting old. I'm very blessed to have a father that is very technical and loves to geek out with that stuff. And he literally was online researching, knew I had to do Zoom, this and that. Boom, one gets shipped to me. And I'm like, thank God. I had the researcher, the person who could do all that. That's what started me. And I was just doing Zooms on my laptop. My first Zoom was very hysterical. I was sitting on my laptop was set up on, and actually it was this chair. I'm not even kidding you. It was set up on this chair. I was sitting on an ottoman in front of it on my floor, with a couple of dumbbells right next to me. It was hysterical. But hey, it did the job for the first few months, and then I realized I needed more.
Yeah. Your very first Zoom client, do you remember your very first client? And would you do anything differently today knowing what you know now?
With that client, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He wanted strength. He wanted muscle. He wanted all that. I probably would have indulged in deeper to know what his eating habits and stuff like that, his lifestyle was like, because he was getting strong, but we weren't losing fat. And I would guide on food and stuff like that, but it was deeper into the lifestyle that I did not know. That's when it became very apparent to me that that little section that us trainers have always had on our intake form that says, how many alcoholic drinks do you have a week? how often do you eat, fast food or takeout or eat out at a restaurant? That's when I had to add those. I didn't think those were that important. That was my mistake. But if I'd known that more, I would have been able to coach and guide him faster success.
Yeah. And it makes sense. You're with them maybe 1 hour of the day, and there's 23 other hours in a day. So it makes a lot of sense. Last question. We covered a lot today. What is your number one marketing tip for personal trainers who want to be successful?
Brand yourself. Not just find a logo, find a brand, find something, get something created, but now define your brand. Understand who it is, what it is, why it is, and get that out there, because that's your business philosophy, that's your business plan. That's what people need to know about you, right away. Even if it's a little bio, short, sweet. Don't list everything in the whole wide world. If I listed everything I was certified or trained in, we're going back to 1997. Nobody wants to hear 30 years of education from me.
Right.
Although I will remind the world, I will say that maybe it was in 2002 that I was certified, but my first renew CEU credits were with you in 2003.
Oh my gosh.
For sports nutrition on the Cape.
I remember that.
First renew CEUs.
Wow. And you always remember your first. Wow. Back then, I had more hair and less gray hair back then.
I had the same hair. I had less gray hair, but you can't see it now, so it's all good.
Oh, that's funny. Wow. Well, Jenna, this has been a great conversation. I really do appreciate your time. For people who want to reach out to you and maybe hire you, where can they find you? I know where you can find you, but you tell me.
They can find me on Instagram at Jenna G Fit. They can find me on Facebook, Jenna G Fitness, for a business page. YouTube, I believe, is Jenna G Fit. And LinkedIn is under Jenna G Fitness. All those guys. Usually 99% of the time, if you type in Jenna G Fit, it comes up. Even on Google, Jenna G Fit.
Gee, it's kind of like you're branding yourself.
Amazing. And actually what's funny is that the Jenna G Fit part came up back like in 1997-ish, 98-ish, from a friend who I said, can you create a little logo? Well, that logo was definitely 1997. So we don't use that anymore. And then my friend Nicole, she had created this one for me, and then it became Jenna G Fitness. Yep.
Very cool.
That evolves too. Your brand can evolve too. Just because you come up with one graphic right away doesn't mean it stays with you forever. But it could evolve and be open to that.
But Jen, it's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Joe. It was so good. I love it.